Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Squat Cobbler. I completely forgot where I was going with that. Let's try that again.
Sure.
I would leave that in too.
Yeah. I intend to. When I do that, they don't make it.
I did a podcast with our friend Tony recently, and there was something, and I was like, "Don't worry, I'm going to cut that out." And I was listening back. I was like, "Nah, I'm leaving that in."
That's it.
And then I cut something else later, though, but I left in the part where I said, "I'm going to cut that out." Hello, everybody. I am Dr. Mike at Official Pagan on everything. This is Squat Cobbler, and joining me, as always.
Hi, everybody. This is Kelly, also known as Roll Deep, and I'm at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram. And please be sure to like and subscribe, which isn't what I want to say now. I want to say subscribe and click the bell, but we're working on it, folks.
We just got like and subscribe down, like really down.
I know we were so on it, and now it's subscribe and turn on notifications, which just isn't as musical as like and subscribe, but we'll do it. But it's well worth your while because in addition to remarkable retro gaming content, much Alice Cooper conversation, music reviews, recommendations, taking on the hard issues of the day. Most importantly, we now have t-shirts.
Yes.
After how many years of us saying, yeah, we ought to do the t-shirt thing. So thanks to Mike for finding a good sourcing option for that. And we've got our store up, and hopefully if the video editing, wow, that's going out.
So, it all stays.
Doesn't all stay. Hopefully, if the video editing gods smile nicely on us, you're seeing a screenshot of it right now. So we'll include a link in the descriptions. Please take a look. Highly affordable. These are high quality, $20 t-shirts, and they're from typically quotes from our past shows.
And excellent design work from you, sir.
I appreciate it. Yes, and most importantly, you get the Bog Panda logo in all of its glory. Did a dead body just drop over in your place?
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Okay.
Are you a cop? Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I'll pass out. Boy, this is going well so far.
It's a solid start.
Man. Right.
Anyway, tonight, in addition to t-shirts and liking, subscribing, and something about bells, we are going to talk about Flashback. It is the second game in the quadrilogy. That sounds right.
I think sure it is. Yes, yeah. That's exactly what it is.
Quadrilogy. That is Another World, Flashback. What's the third one?
Fade to Black.
Fade to Black. I always forget that one. That's the one that I've had the least exposure to of them. Fade to Black, and then of course the unsung hero, the spiritual sequel, Shaq Fu.
Ever present on our video overlay now. He's made the cut, so we always have Shaq with us.
Shaq's really always with all of us in our hearts, isn't he?
And Shaq be with you. So
that's a shirt.
There's a shirt. See, and Shaq be with you shirt will be on there.
Now, what was your initial exposure to Flashback?
So much like Another World, was an early Amiga release. Played it on the Amiga. A lot of the advertisement when it was coming out on console games was, hey, this is a CD quality game on a cartridge, and it was just that next level of it. So I played the heck out of it on my Amiga, much like I did with Another World. And so that's where I got exposed to it first. There's now a Switch version available, which I have, and a kind of a collector's edition one. You get a couple different versions of it. So I'm going to need to pick that up. Haven't done that yet, but just the classic Amiga one was where I had most of my gaming experience. How about you?
So initially playing it was on PC, the DOS version of it, which I totally illegally acquired from a friend. And of course, it was the French language version of the game, as one does. So I know this is important to point out, zero French, but the game was still, it looked incredible. It was a lot of fun to play. And you already hit on a really interesting thing with it. This was really sold as a CD game on cartridge. It was actually developed for Genesis, so that is the creator's preferred version of it, because this has been ported to everything that ever existed that could play video games, basically.
Yeah, and we're all the better for it because it's a
Yeah.
great game. It is a very good game, and I mean, I do think it's hard. We've done a show on Another World, and I do think, and it was clearly a huge inspiration on this game. Maybe not as powerful as it was an influence on Shaq Fu, but still
Right.
a big influence. And you just see where everything's just been amped up a little bit. Everything's just a little bit better. The complexity and movement of the player is more refined. You're still, you're not an 8 billion polygon world. You're not highly rendered smooth graphics, but the actual motion and activity is really smooth. Everything was rotoscoped to kind of get the fluid action, and it just really plays super well. So it's good. It's a really good game. If you are a fan of Another World, you haven't played Flashback, I find that hard to believe, and then two, if you haven't, you absolutely should, because it's just such a great experience.
And this really kicked off, and I know Another World came first, but I remember this really kicking off, especially on consoles, the idea of what a lot of people refer to now as cinematic platformers, with the more fluid animation, the more realistic physics, in the sense of, just like in Another World, if you jump from too high, not just that you miss a platform and fall, but higher platforms, if you land the wrong way, your character can take damage and things like that. That's not stuff you saw in platforming at this point with Mario and things along those lines, where of course, if you miss your platform, you die, but it's cartoon physics otherwise. As long as you hit the platform, you're safe, you don't take injury from doing that. And this wasn't the case, so that was a fun learning curve for me.
Yeah, because it definitely changes your gameplay, because now
Yeah.
it's not just I'm good at spotting the platform. I can make it to the platform. It's like, is this the place I need to jump from to get to the platform? And there is definitely in this game uh, some complex moves you've got to make, and grabbing onto things, and some pretty long jumps that you need to time incredibly correctly, or you're gonna have some trouble on there. Also, from a cinematic standpoint, cutscenes, which they existed before, but kind of a lot more integral in Another World. That goes further here. I mean, I think Another World's dabbled in it, and in this game, again, it's not a huge part of the gameplay, and cutscenes are obviously part and parcel of most everything of the kind of serious adventure gaming stuff now. But this was another game that just kind of started to take that to the next level along, give you a little bit of context. I mean, sometimes in French for some of us, but still give you a little bit of context so that you can move on. And that was another kind of cool charm of this game.
It was interesting when I finally played the Genesis cartridge of it. I was like, oh, this is what the game's about.
Oh, you didn't learn French to enhance your gameplay?
No. Still no zero French. It was problematic because I did a song that was in French, and I had to have like people double checking the lyrics and everything. So it's problematic. I know zero French.
Yeah, if in the game or in your song there was someone named Paul that you were not a friend of, or if you were looking for the library, or you were just saying "What's up?" or "Hello" or "Goodbye," I could have helped you. But
That's
that's
you could have been the perfect translator.
that's the outcome of 2 semesters of high school French and 2 semesters of college French. That's all that stuck, and I can count to 14, so I got that too.
It's pretty solid. Now, when you were taking French, though, were you more fluent in it then?
Fluent's a strong word. It was by the time you got to the second, the introductory French class in college, and then the second one, the professor for that course, who was from Paris, a real nice lady, but she slowly dialed back how much English she would use in the class, to the extent of you started to wonder, I think I just got an assignment, but I'm a little unclear. But we did that. So I was a little more fluent at that point in time, but like many things, it hasn't stuck with me.
Are there any other? I know this is a little bit off topic. Are there any other languages that you speak, sir?
No, not even Klingon. and, so, and I'm not really even fluent in Pig Latin. So you, as in the as a doctor and a knight, and a reverend or a preacher, I assume probably Latin, given some of your clerical work.
So we took I went to mostly religious schools as a kid. And the one school in particular, and I'm not going to say their name because they still exist and they've been greatly reformed since the time I went there. But they were pretty archaic when I went to this one, even for that time, the one school I went to. They refused to get on board with the superintendent of schools curriculum with things. They didn't need that. They didn't need teachers who went to school. Real fight that took and taught classes in Latin. So I had a couple of years in Latin as a kid. Don't remember any of it. This was like first, second grade type stuff. You know what's fun about first and second graders in America? They don't know Latin. So
no,
teaching classes in Latin is, a choice that they made. When I was a kid, though, on my dad's side of the family in particular, a lot of them still spoke Polish. So I did not and can't speak Polish, but I knew enough as a kid just from being around it that I could get the gist of their conversations, what they were saying around me. I couldn't now. If I was around people speaking Polish, I might be like, that word is milk or something. You know what I mean? Like I might be able to pick out a word or two, but not enough to follow a conversation like I could at that time. I took 2 years of Spanish in high school. I still know no Spanish. There were some very helpful young ladies who did all of my homework and projects for me. Thanks, ladies.
Well done. Hey, and then a little Catholic joke for the two Catholic listeners that we have to the Squad Cobbler. So I assume when the teachers were teaching you in Latin, they had their back to you as they taught. So there's a little Catholic joke for you. So that's zeroed in on a demographic of two people watching this that probably still didn't think it was funny. But you go with what you know.
Yeah.
So back to Flashback.
Again, not trying to upset anybody, but that was real. That's what that school was doing, and they were forced out of that. But
yeah, appropriately so.
Yeah. Not until like I was almost out of grade school though, when all that changed. They were like, "Hey, you need like real teachers and to speak English and stuff like that." To the kids who don't know Latin, all of them.
Yeah. Well, that had to suck because like your football team had to have like the Roman numerals and stuff, and that would have been just terrible. He's like holding on XXVI. Yeah. No.
Funny, is a good friend of mine. Their kids go there, and they were like, "Hey, you went there, right? Was that a good school?" And I was like, "I'm not the person to ask. It was a different time." They're like, "You're not that much older than me. It was a different time. Trust me."
Things have changed.
Yeah.
Change in administration, a little different.
There's a dramatic overhaul. It's under new management. But back to Flashback. One of the things that always sticks out to me with Flashback, and I did play through the game, that first level though, that sort of jungle setting is always what I think of and associate with the game in my head.
Yeah, me too. One, because particularly it's a difficult game. It's it's not one you're going to blow through. If you're a really strong gamer, you'll probably move quicker through it than I did. But you're going to spend a decent amount of time in the jungle as
when you're
acclimate.
Yeah.
But it is what I associate as well. Actually, kind of all of the main environments are pretty interesting. You get into kind of a cityscape at a period of time, and then into kind of a organic stone combo environment towards the end. Lots of purples and pinks, and that the disappointment to me was I was a big fan of the weapon system in Another World, where you had that gun that kind of served multi purposes. It could create a shield, it could do a big blast, or it could fire a bullet. This year, a little more limited to just you're shooting from there. So that other gun was super handy in some things. And the foes, while no slouches in Another World, in this one get progressively more unpleasant to deal with. They can either teleport through you, take more time, more hits to take out, or towards the very end of it, it almost seemed like a callback to the little slime snakes or whatever from Another World, but that could take that liquid form, pop up into an opponent, and then go back to the other form and kind of climb up walls and jump and do all sorts of things. So they had a lot of mobility, and also could take quite a bit of damage before they were done. But with you that first level or that first whole first section of the jungle is really what I think about.
Yeah, and there was also speaking of this being ported everywhere, at one point there was supposed to be a remake of it for Game Boy Advance, and that project was never completed. I don't know whatever happened to it, but for whatever reason it got scrapped. But there are ROMs of the kind of opening of the game in the jungle that you can totally legally play that have leaked out. And it's a shame that game wasn't finished. Game Boy Advance was a really good system, and it's a shame that wasn't finished because at that point upgrade of that level, because Game Boy Advance was more advanced than the cartridge based systems that were around prior to that. Seeing that sort of overhauled looked really nice. It would have been interesting to see, had they finished the game, where that could have gone. Would you have any interest as a fan of this game of seeing on maybe modern consoles or a full-on PC update of this at some point?
Yeah, I'd be interested, and I would assume they'd stay pretty true to the gameplay, which would make it still a very fun game to play. But it's a little bit, we've done one show on Doom. There may be more coming on that. When you had Doom 1 and Doom 2, and then you jump to Doom 3, there's a pretty big change in the visual experience there, and you start to get to that higher end gaming capabilities and those types of things. So you can add a lot more carnage and gore, and the monsters can look scarier and all that. But it comes back to that core gameplay that I still, while I'm interested in the later Dooms, I still strongly favor Doom 1 and Doom 2. And it would, to me, likely be the same for Flashback. That while I would probably enjoy playing a revved up, spiffy new Flashback, I think my preference will always be for the original.
Yeah, and I think that's, you hit on it with Doom, and it would probably be the same here. The core gameplay is just so almost perfect that just polishing up the graphics doesn't replace that in any way. My concern, if they were to do a modern remake of it now, is that it would be 3D, not the 2D side scrolling. And to me, this kind of has to stay a 2D side scroller for me.
I think for the experience and just while physics do apply, it's a slightly different world when you're dealing with flat plane physics versus full 3D physics. I'm with you that I think it could be interesting to do it the other way, but there's just something about this execution and this approach. And we can get into it a little bit more when we talk about
Shaq
Fu. And now you've got me doing it. Fade to Black, which makes that shift more into, you're getting out of some of the pure, just the flat 2D stuff. So, but yeah, I wouldn't be super excited to see him depart from that.
Yeah, and that's where certain franchises have lost me, when they've kind of made a jump to a different viewpoint or perspective like that. The Duke Nukem games is a good example. So those started off as side-scrolling 2D side-scroller games. Then Duke Nukem 3D gave it the classic look that we're used to of it being a first-person shooter. Then there were some console versions that came later where it was a third-person perspective game, and that did not work for me.
Yeah, Duke Nukem Forever, which just kind of was always the mythological, when's it going to come out? Finally came out, and was more the first person view, that whole 3D environment going. And I don't know, parts of it are fun, but the original Duke Nukem stuff always better, I think, too. So my preference.
Yeah.
There may be some Duke Nukem discussion in the future too.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too. Like, we might have to get into some Duke
There we
Nukem.
go. Excellent. Well, we just wanted to kind of check in this week, talk about Flashback, set the stage, building towards Shaq Fu. I know the crowds can't wait. Let you know we got t-shirts now. Open to suggestions. You got other ideas. We're probably more amenable to a suggestion of someone who's bought a t-shirt from us. That would be just pro tip for you.
Our returning customers.
We listen to our customers. But we're excited that that's finally available since we've talked about it forever. So that's cool. And we've got plenty more retro gaming stuff to talk about. So anything else for this show, Mike?
No, I think that's it. I think we need to go back and carefully comb through past episodes for all of those great t-shirt ideas that never materialized.
Yeah,
so we can start getting those out.
Cool. I'm for that. So excellent. So on that note, we're just going to sign off and be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications.
You can like it too, comment, do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, it's up to you. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.